California Governor Gavin Newsom just stood up in Los Angeles and completely dismantled Donald Trump, the GOP, and their nonstop propaganda. Now, this event was supposed to be about bringing healthier food into California schools, but Newsom didn't hold back. He used that platform to call out the Republican lies about the government shutdown, healthcare, and their total abandonment of ordinary Americans. This is what real leadership looks like. Watch this.
I think it needs any deeper explanation. They are lying. They made it up. And it just shows how, not only sort of desperate and pathetic to knowingly lie to the American people, particularly people in positions of power and influence, the Speaker himself, not just the President of the United States, though that's just, every minute of every hour of every day. But it also shows how wrong they are and the overwhelming, now bipartisan opposition to these massive increases in healthcare costs that are going in effect in January. And by the way, I mentioned 600,000 people in the state of California. We think that is a conservative number. We actually ran 3 different surveys on this to come up with that number. We put that out, published that a number of months ago. It's over 4 million people that they conservatively estimate nationwide. We were looking just at the Anthem Bronze Plan. This is something familiar with people on the California exchange, the Bronze Plan. Right now, if you're on the Bronze Plan, it's about $307. It's going to go up to $964. $307 a month to $964. We're talking about 100% increase across the board in the aggregate, but some people are living with triple-digit increases. This is jaw-dropping, and people are finally starting to understand that. That's why they're desperate to paint a different picture. But again.
See that? Straightforward. He calls them what they are. Liars, because that's exactly what's happening. Republicans keep screaming about Democrat shutdowns, while they're the ones tanking our government, jacking up healthcare prices, and blaming everyone else for it. And Newsom brought receipts. He pointed out that millions of Americans, including over 500,000 Californians, are about to lose affordable coverage because of Republican sabotage of healthcare subsidies. And what's their plan? Nothing. Just cruelty and chaos.
I hope it gives some closure as it relates to some of the anxiety that may have been felt. How did this happen? Who's responsible? Can this happen again? What lessons we learned? So at least from that perspective, a little bit of closure. That said, it's cold comfort for those who lost their homes and are coming through the recovery. What I do say is that we need to really now, I think, call out why the President of the United States and Congress has refused to provide support to those that have been victimized by this arsonist and this devastation. $39 billion for months and months and months. And the President of the United States has said nothing. Speaker of the House said he's not interested in helping the American people that were devastated, lives torn asunder here in Los Angeles. Where is the accountability in that respect? Where's the spirit that defines the best of this country? To be here for fellow Americans in the time of recovery, uncertainty. It's been months, not a peep from the President of the United States, not a word from Speaker Johnson. I was proud as a taxpayer, as an American, to have Speaker Johnson's back when his district in his state was devastated by floods. I said the same thing to Greg Abbott as we sent him personnel and support because he needed it with the devastation of the flood. But I'm proud that our tax dollars, disproportionately California's tax dollars, will be used to help support the recovery in Texas. That's what makes America great. Not a word from the Republican Party, not a word from Speaker Johnson, not a word from the President of the United States. I applaud the work that initiated under the Biden administration in this investigation and the work that this administration did as it relates to finding this person and ultimately pushing these charges and making these charges. But I find it shameful that they haven't done a damn thing for the thousands of people who lost their homes and whose lives were devastated from this disaster. Not a word from the president.
Then he hits them where it hurts. On basic decency, Trump and Speaker Mike Johnson are blocking disaster relief for California wildfire victims, just because it's a blue state. Meanwhile, Newsom reminds everyone that when floods hit Louisiana or Texas, California taxpayers stepped up, because that's what being American actually means, helping your fellow citizens. red state or blue state.
The things that's unfortunate about what's happening across this country is while they're asserting one thing in terms of making America healthy again, they're doing something radical on the other side of that. The most significant cutbacks, the most consequential rollbacks of health care coverage in American history, with premiums that are about to double, 97% on average, for Californians. We expect 600,000 Californians to lose their health coverage, in January, 600,000 that can no longer afford health coverage, if the big beautiful bill and its impacts on Obamacare and the elimination of these subsidies go away. And so you can't do one without the other. And I think what makes me most proud of what the Assembly members are doing and what our Secretary has done is that we have a comprehensive strategy to healthcare. And then, by the way, includes the environment, which is a huge part of the air we breathe, the water we drink. So it's just not good enough to make a case against ultra-processed foods unless you're making a case for a healthcare delivery system and preventative care and making a case for integrating these values and these principles. So I think California is a model. We're hardly perfect. No one's naive. There are tremendous challenges, but this is a big part of our effort. And final point on this, and before we open up to questions, we opened shortly after we became the first state in the U.S. to provide universal health care, regardless of pre-existing conditions, ability to pay, and your status. We also opened an office of healthcare affordability. It's not gotten the kind of attention I think it deserves. It's actually created some numeric targets to reduce healthcare costs. It's also a component part of CalRx and the work we're doing to start providing our own drugs like insulin. We're going to, by the way, make a big announcement on that next week. A little bit of a preview in that space. We've done it for naloxone. We're looking at the diaper space, et cetera, to lower the cost, not subsidize cost, but to actually lower the cost of production, and cost to the taxpayers in the state. But the Office of Healthcare Affordability has a numeric target as well for healthy foods. And I don't think there's anything comparable anywhere in the country that we are truly focusing on health care, not sick care. We're truly focused on a preventative care model. And a big part of that is the healthy foods initiatives. And a big part of that is the work that is going to be entrusted over the course of the next few years at the Department of Public Health to identify what are currently thousands and thousands and thousands of these additives that, by the way, do not exist in the European Union and many other parts of the globe that somehow we've allowed to exist and persist here through neglect. And California will be leading the nation. FDA will do their part. I don't have confidence ultimately where that goes, but I do have confidence where these folks go over the course of the next few years. So I just want to add that to broaden, I hope, the appeal and the comprehensive nature of what we're advancing and announcing.
And then Newsom shifts gears beautifully. He calls out the fake "Make America Healthy Again" nonsense that Trump and RFK Jr. keep spewing, while they actively gut healthcare and science programs. California, on the other hand, is walking the walk. Universal healthcare, lower drug prices, banning toxic additives in school food, things that actually make people healthier. That's why Newsom's line hits so hard. California focuses on healthcare, not sick care. That's the model the rest of the country needs to follow.
Well, I think they found the arsonist, and we'll look at the investigation and what backed up this indictment, and then we'll look at the facts and judge on the basis of those facts. And there's when it comes to the issue of fire liability, I know a thing or two, going back to Paradise and the process that unfolds there and how this is done without political interference and how the facts need to be pursued without any bias or political interference. And I just want to know the facts, period. And ultimately then we'll judge culpability. Those facts are not only being assessed as it relates to this indictment by the federal government of this alleged arsonist, but obviously those facts are currently being reviewed as it relates to the fire in Altadena as well. And so I just want to leave it at that until we get all those details.
And look how he handles tough questions. No yelling, no conspiracy rants, just facts. He talks about accountability, due process, and waiting for investigations, not blaming imaginary enemies. Compare that to Donald Trump, who can't even finish a coherent sentence without drifting off mid-answer.